The camera descends through layers of earth, stone by stone, century by century. Beneath the roaring heart of modern Rome lies a second world. Silent, ancient, untouched by time. A world built not for the eyes of kings, but for the gods, the dead, and the architects of empire. Down there, beneath the marble streets and monuments bathed in sunlight, lies Rome's truest face, one carved in shadow and sealed in dust, where whispers of emperors echo through hollow corridors and forgotten fires still burn in the dark. Every stone below tells a secret the surface has forgotten. Because Rome wasn't built in a day, it was buried piece by piece in the centuries that followed. They say time buries all things, but Rome buried itself. Not out of shame, but out of greatness. Layer upon layer of ambition, faith, and conquest pressed into the soil of eternity. Beneath the modern streets where laughter and footsteps echo, another Rome sleeps, older, quieter, more honest. The foundations of the empire still breathe down. Hidden vaults, forgotten corridors, and broken statues lie in the darkness, guarding secrets that emperors once swore would never see the light again. It began with a city of mud huts along the Tiber, where shepherds carved homes into the rock. Those crude shelters would one day stand beneath marble palaces, buried under centuries of triumph and ruin. Each new emperor, each new age, built upon the bones of the last, stacking glory atop decay, empire attached. And as the city grew upward toward the gods, its roots dug deeper into the underworld. If you could walk through those layers, through the catacombs of faith, through the chambers of rulers long forgotten, you would see a story no textbook ever told. You'd see the heartbeat of an empire still pulsing in the dirt. Under the Roman Forum, the very ground hums with echoes of its birth. Those great marble arches and towering columns were never the whole story. Below them ran hidden tunnels, foundations older than the stones above. There, masons carved their craft by torchlight, their sweat falling into the dust that would one day become legend. They worked not for fame, but for permanence, believing that what they built would outlast kings, gods, even time itself. But Rome's foundations held more than stone. They held secrets of rituals whispered in the dark, of alliances sealed beneath the earth, where no light could betray them. Beneath the temples, priests once offered sacrifices to forgotten deities, their chants echoing through hollow halls. The scent of burning incense mixed with damp air, carrying prayers into the blackness below. There were chambers where senators met in secret, plotting revolutions beneath the marble halls of power. And beneath the homes of the mighty tunnels wound through the earth, connecting the elite to hidden exits and shadowed rooms, insurance against betrayal, or worse. Rome's greatness wasn't built on sunlight alone. It thrived in the dark, in what could not be seen and what could not be spoken. Every empire builds monuments to its victories, but Rome built something greater, a labyrinth of memory beneath its feet. A place where every crack, every stone carried the weight of human ambition. Down there, you can still feel it, the damp chill of history pressing against your skin. The silence that isn't silence at all, but the quiet breath of a city that refuses to die. When archaeologists dig, they don't just unearth ruins, they awaken ghosts. Each discovery below the surface reminds us that Rome was never truly gone. It was waiting, watching, whispering through the centuries. The forgotten foundations of Rome aren't just ruins. They are confessions, carved in stone, buried in pride, sealed in eternity. And somewhere in that eternal dark, among the bones and bricks of empire, lies the truth of what Rome really was. Not just a city of marble and power, but a living monument, built on the shoulders of the dead, still breathing in the soil beneath our feet. Beneath the proud heart of Rome lies a different kind of empire, one that breathes in silence. Here, in the catacombs, power did not roar. It whispered. Faith did not rule from marble thrones. It hid among the bones of the forgotten. Down here, there are no emperors, no triumphal arches, no golden eagles watching from the sky. Only the cold embrace of the earth, and the stories carved into its walls by trembling hands. The catacombs stretch for miles, a labyrinth of devotion and defiance, carved beneath the boots of those who would have crushed both. It was in these tunnels that men and women gathered in the darkness, their candles flickering like fragile souls in the belly of the empire. They came to pray where no soldier could find them, to mourn where no emperor's spies could hear, each symbol etched into the stone. The fish, the cross, the dove, was a cry for freedom, a promise that even in the shadow of Rome's might, belief could not be buried. Imagine it, the air thick with smoke, the scent of oil lamps mingling with damp earth, the walls slick with condensation echoing the murmurs of hidden prayers. Above them, the Empire's legions marched in victory parades, their banners bright against the sun. But below, in the deep hush of the underworld, another army gathered, unarmed, unseen, unbroken. They were slaves, widows, soldiers who had turned away from conquest, mothers who refused to surrender their children to gods of stone. Down there, surrounded by death, they found life, a purpose greater than empire, greater than fear. The catacombs were not built for death, they were built for remembrance. Each tomb carved by hand, each symbol scratched into rock was an act of rebellion. A declaration that the human spirit does not kneel forever. And yet, it was not only faith that filled these corridors, it was sorrow and hope. Generations passed through these tunnels, those who believed that salvation was worth hiding for, and those who died believing it would one day rise into the light. The emperors could flood these tunnels, seal their entrances, hunt the faithful in the streets above, but they could never silence what was born in the dark, because belief, once buried, becomes a seed, and seeds grow stronger in the soil. Centuries later, when archaeologists first entered these catacombs, they expected only decay. But they found something more enduring than empire: love. Carved prayers still etched into the walls, inscriptions written by trembling hands that refused to forget. A peace be with you, a light eternal. Oh, remember me. These weren't just words. They were voices from the grave, still calling out after 2,000 years. Voices of a people who lived and died for what they believed, buried under the very civilization that sought to erase them. Above ground, Rome was a city of emperors. But below, it was a city of souls. Two worlds, one built upon the other, one shouting its glory to the heavens, the other whispering its truth to the earth. And even now, if you walk those tunnels, you can feel it, the heartbeat of those who would not bow. The faint hum of faith stronger than marble, deeper than empire. The catacombs remind us of something Rome itself forgot, that no power, no emperor, no god of stone can silence the spirit that refuses to die. Every empire hides its machinery. Rome was no different. Beneath the marble beauty of the forum and the echo of senators' speeches, another Rome existed, unseen, unrecorded, and far more human. It was a city built not of ideals, but of secrets. Under those grand basilicas and temples ran a web of tunnels, chambers, and hidden doors, arteries of power pulsing beneath the empire's golden skin. Here, in the dark, politics became survival. Truth became a weapon. And the fate of nations was whispered over candlelight, not proclaimed from marble steps. The people above saw only the spectacle, the emperor's parade, the triumphal arches, the chariot wheels cutting through rose petals. But down below, in narrow corridors and shadowed cellars, Rome's real wars were fought, not with swords, but with secrets. It was said that beneath the Palatine Hill lay passageways so ancient that even the emperors feared to tread them. They were older than the empire itself, remnants of forgotten shrines and royal tombs, later turned into meeting chambers for those who dared to move unseen. Senators, generals, and spies walked those tunnels in silence, plotting what could never be spoken aloud in the Senate's glare. These were men who understood that the foundations of power are never clean. Beneath the temples to honor and virtue lay rooms stained with the scent of betrayal. Beneath the altars of the gods lay chambers where bribes were counted and alliances born in the dark. And still Rome endured. Because power was its heartbeat and secrecy its blood. There were tunnels leading from the emperor's palace to the barracks of the Praetorian Guard. Escape routes and ambush corridors, reminders that even the mighty needed a way. In those same halls, guards once conspired against the men they swore to protect. A dagger's promise meant more than an oath. Every emperor feared the shadows beneath his feet. Julius Caesar's steps once echoed above them. So did Nero's and Caligula's. All men who thought themselves gods, yet whose reigns ended as whispers in those very tunnels, their legacies buried with the stones that once upheld them. Archaeologists say Rome was layered like the pages of a book, each century writing over the last. But in those pages between the cracks lie the fingerprints of men who shaped history through silence. It was in those hidden chambers that orders were given to move legions, to poison rivals, to crown new emperors before dawn. And when morning came, the city above awoke to new laws, new rulers, new destinies, never knowing they had all been decided beneath their feet. Down there, the air feels different, heavier, as though it remembers every whisper, every scream, every secret traded in the dark. The walls seem to breathe, the floors to hum, echoing the conspiracies of those who once thought their power eternal. But nothing buried stays silent forever. As Rome's ruins crumble above, the earth beneath still guards the stories of ambition and treachery. For every marble statue that stands in glory, there's a hidden chamber below it. A reminder that even the brightest empires cast the darkest shadows. Rome taught the world how to rule, but it also taught how to hide, how to build beauty over corruption, how to bury sin beneath sanctity. And as the centuries passed, those tunnels remained, quiet witnesses to the truth behind the empire's golden mask. Because beneath the marble, beneath the legend, the real Rome still waits, buried not in defeat, but in secrecy. They called Rome the Eternal City, but eternity was not built in the sunlight alone. It was built in the dark, by hands that shaped the bones of the earth itself. Beneath the grand avenues, beneath the thunder of chariots and the roar of the crowds, Rome's true genius lay buried. Its engineers were not poets nor warriors, yet they conquered the impossible. They carved rivers beneath mountains, built cities upon water, and tamed the earth as though it were their servant. Down in those underground halls, lit by oil and sweat, the pulse of Rome was forged. There were aqueducts, silent veins of stone that carried life to millions. Vast cisterns carved into the earth, catching every drop of rain as if the gods themselves demanded efficiency. And tunnels that stretched for miles, connecting temples, homes, and forums. A network so precise that modern science still stands in awe of its perfection. Most remember the Colosseum, the Pantheon, the mighty roads that span continents. But beneath those wonders lay the invisible, the unseen craftsmanship that made it all possible. The Romans understood something few civilizations ever would. True strength lies not only in what stands above the ground, but in what holds it up. The engineers of Rome were builders of eternity. Their work wasn't meant for fame, it was meant to last. Each arch, each stone was placed with purpose, and even now, centuries later, their creations endure, while empires that came after have turned to dust. Some say the greatest secret of Rome lies not in its marble or its monuments, but in its mastery of the unseen. Deep under the streets of the city, tunnels once guided entire systems of water and heat, in innovations centuries ahead of their time. There were underground furnaces that warmed the baths of emperors, drains that carried away the filth of millions, and channels that fed fountains rising like liquid crystal into the air. The Romans understood the balance between beauty and utility. Above ground, splendor. Below, precision. Every arch in the heavens was mirrored by another in the dark. Every road that led to Rome was matched by another running beneath it, unseen but essential. Imagine walking those hidden passages now. The hum of ancient engineering still alive, the air heavy with history. You can feel the craftsmanship in the stone, the silent pride in every carved corner. This was the underworld of genius, where the empire's real architects left their legacy. Their secrets were not guarded by swords, but by time. And when Rome fell, many of these subterranean marvels were sealed, forgotten, consumed by earth. The aqueducts turned to echoes, the tunnels to tombs. Yet still their endurance defies the century. Modern architects still study their work, tracing the logic of the ancients, trying to understand how men with no machines built wonders that outlasted kings. What they find is not just stone and mortar, but philosophy. Rome built with intention, not for the present, but for forever. Every line, every weight, every curve was a promise that even when the empire fell, its spirit would remain in the strength of its design. And so it has. The aqueducts still stand, the roads still stretch, the walls still hold. Beneath the surface of our modern world, Rome's pulse continues, steady, unyielding, patient. The lost knowledge of Roman engineering isn't truly lost. It sleeps beneath our feet, waiting for those who still listen to the hum of eternity through the stone. Because the Romans did not just build an empire. They built the blueprint for civilization itself and buried it deep underground. Centuries pass, empires rise, empires fall, but beneath it all, Rome endures. Buried under layers of time and silence, the eternal city never truly died. It simply changed its voice. What was once shouted by legions and emperors is now whispered by the earth itself. Every brick, every relic, every forgotten tunnel beneath the streets of modern Rome is a pulse, a heartbeat of an empire that refuses to fade. They say ruins are the bones of history, But Rome's bones still breathe. Walk among them and you can feel it, that quiet hum beneath your feet, as if the stones themselves are remembering. The whispers of builders, priests, slaves, and soldiers drift through the soil. Their echoes ride on the dust of centuries, carried by time like sacred smoke. When archaeologists dig beneath the city, they do more than uncover artifacts. They awaken ghosts. The sound of a brush against ancient marble becomes a conversation between worlds. And for a brief, fragile moment, the dead and the living share the same breath. Under the ruins of temples and baths, they find traces of paint, fragments of mosaics, even coins with faces long erased by touch and weather. Each discovery is a whisper saying, "We were here," because the Romans did not build to be remembered. They built to never be forgotten. The eternal city is not eternal because of its triumphs, but because of its layers. Layers of faith and failure, of conquest and collapse. Rome learned the secret no other civilization ever mastered. Immortality isn't about survival, it's about memory. Every civilization leaves footprints. Rome left cathedrals of stone beneath the soil, a memory so vast that it became part of the planet itself. Its aqueducts still murmur in the distance. Its roads, though broken, still lead somewhere. And its ruins, half swallowed by earth, remind the world that greatness never truly disappears. It only sleeps. There's something haunting about the idea that even buried Rome continues to walk. That somewhere in those forgotten tunnels, beneath the marble and the dust, the spirit of the empire still waits. Patient, proud, eternal. Tourists walk the streets above, snapping pictures, unaware that beneath their steps lies another city entirely. Shadow Rome. A place where torches once flickered, where hands once built, prayed, conspired, and died. They stand above the graves of empires, and yet the air still hums with power. Because history never truly ends, it simply hides. The eternal echo of Rome is not just in stone or soil. It lives in us, in every law written, every road built, every empire that dared to dream of forever. The Romans may have vanished, but their rhythm still beats in the architecture of our cities, the language of our law, the ambition of our hearts. We are all, in some way, walking upon the echoes of Rome. So when the wind moves through the ruins and the shadows shift in the ancient corridors, listen closely. You might just hear it, the faint, unbroken murmur of an empire buried but never gone. Because Rome was never truly conquered. It was absorbed into time, into us, into everything that endures. And so long as the earth remembers, Rome still breathes.